Everybody starts somewhere. Everybody who got good started to get good somewhere. I don't think this is it just because the Packers are so banged up. They've got a malcontent, fading quarterback who is, he's on a cumbersome contract. He doesn't look like he's the player he once was. He seems bitter. Those around him seem incapable of making plays for him.
Bitter. Hell yeah, he's bitter.
Yeah, but I'm not mad about them winning. I'd like to think it was the beginning of something, but they kind of got to follow it up. Maybe they got a little momentum going here. I'll say I think there's one thing significant out of yesterday's game. It was their best defensive performance in a long time, and they had 4 rookies starting on defense, and a lot of those guys made plays. A lot of them. Obviously, Kirby Joseph made plays. Aiden Hutchinson made a play, which was really the interception wasn't that tough, but reading the play, it was a terrible throw.
It was an awful throw. It was a great read, and if Hutch didn't get it, Rodriguez would have at least knocked it down, but he could have picked it off too, perhaps. But I don't care. Hutch, you're right. Reading recognition. Mm-hmm. He saw what it was, went back to defend, and Rodgers threw it right to him because it was a terrible pass, which was awesome to see.
Yep.
How many terrible passes did Aaron Rodgers throw yesterday? That was Doug. That was the beginning of the demise of Karen Rodgers. That's what we saw.
We've been calling for it for years.
Yes, and finally we saw it yesterday. Honestly, how many bad that pass that Hutch picked off was ridiculously bad. All 3 interceptions. The one that goes off of Barnes's helmet and pops up in the air. Like what you threw the ball not even 6 feet off the ground. You hit him right square in the face.
It was so funny because I was going through the stats and I'm trying to, look at snap counts and how much impact did you make for the time you were on the field. And I get the Barnes, and Barnes, I'm going through his stat line. He's got a PBU.
Like,
that's so
when did he break that up? Oh, that's right, with his helmet.
Yeah, when the ball hit him in the face.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Joseph has the interception, great interception, just cuts the route off. But again, an underthrown, poorly. Kirby Joseph.
Oh, okay, I thought you said Jones. I'm like,
no.
Okay, yes, Kirby Joseph. Like one was a.
Well, yeah, the one's up, pop fly. It's like 500. He had to battle.
One was an Amani Awari classic.
Yeah. Oh boy. There you go. So you slid it in there, nice. And so all 3 of the interceptions were bad passes, and then you had the Joseph breakup on the deep ball that should have been 6. Absolutely should have been 6, but underthrown.
Yep.
Underthrown, and there were several other passes that were underthrown, and I loved every second of it, watching Aaron Rodgers slowly turn into, he's an aging quarterback. It's no longer MVP Aaron Rodgers. And look, he did throw for 291 yards in the game on only 23 completions. He found guys that were wide open and was vintage Aaron Rodgers in some ways where, hey, the pocket breaks down, he'll move outside the pocket, and then, I think I'll take off and run. And he scrambled for 18 yards on a 3rd and 17. And, it's stuff like that has you aggravated. Which, by the way, that 3rd and 17 play,
yeah,
should have been blown dead because it was a second after the clock hit 0, which, again, gets us all upset about the damn delay of game call and how easy it is to just implement a new rule, but they decide not to. We'll leave it up to the... Well, pick your damn head up and look at the line of scrimmage because the clock hit 0s and they had not snapped the ball.
It is one of the strangest implementations of a rule in sports. There is no grace period with the shot clock in the NBA. If the clock expires before the puck goes in the net in hockey, it's not like, there's a grace period.
No, these things are reviewed.
Why is there a grace period? Why is there a grace period? It makes
so dumb.
Absolutely no sense. You think of the amount of money, the amount of resources the National Football League has, and we have this is not a rule interpretation. This is 3, 2, 1, 0. And when it hits 0, if the ball has not been snapped, play again.
Right, exactly.
How is this a rule that there's a grace period?
I don't understand.
And by the way, it's relevant today because Aaron Rodgers, one of the things that Aaron Rodgers does is he runs the play clock down.
Yeah.
And he runs it down for a reason. When the play clock hits 0, guess what your defense is kind of done doing? Disguising. Like they're where they need to be. And he wants to see exactly what a defense has, gives him a lot of time to look it over, and then a guy who's faking a blitz has to start, maybe a little bit backing off the line of scrimmage, and he can read these tells, and it's part of what has made Aaron Rodgers so good.
Right.
And yet he is snapping the ball repeatedly.
Well, they're letting him
zero.
do it, and they let him do it because he's Aaron Rodgers. Matthew Stafford was really good. He's really good at draining the clock as well. Tom Brady is a king at doing it also. It's an art form that I love. I love when quarterbacks can do that. You get to the fourth quarter, there's 7 minutes left, and you want to drain the clock as much as you can, and you do. You use up every one of those 40 seconds. And I thought the Lions and Jared Goff were going to do that when they had the ball with 6 minutes left, and they start driving, and they're moving the ball, getting first downs by penalty or whatever, and they're running the clock down, but they're running it down to like 7 seconds. Those 7 seconds left, they add up. When you do it 3 or 4 times, you're talking about close to 30 seconds. 30 seconds of time that could have been taken off the clock. So, would it have been that daunting for the Lions defense to try to stop, Mr. Comeback over there? It didn't matter. Lions came up the plays and they needed to. There were, 4 straight incompletions at the end? They were able to bend but don't break in the most spectacular fashion yesterday. I was really, really impressed by the defensive effort, because it was my big question going into the weekend. How are they going to respond to losing their defensive backs coach, and what was really going on there? And if you saw any of the celebration afterwards, if you watched the video the Lions put out,
it was emotional
in the locker room.
Yep.
When they're Dan Campbell's rallying the troops, everybody's going nuts, and they get everybody to calm down. And he offers up the game ball to Aaron Glenn, and everybody went nuts. Anzalone almost knocked him over. It was really cool to see, and you could see AG was really emotional about it. He loved it, and gave a nice speech back to the team. And there were smiles on everyone's faces. Now, I don't know. We don't have to speculate on anything what happened with Aubrey Pleasant, but I guess my take out of that is, it sucks they lost Pleasant, but it really doesn't matter, because they still believe in each other. And they had the validation with the win yesterday, and the defense came to play.
All right, 248-539-9797. Phone calls and feedback. Look, I think it's something that the Lions started 4 rookies on defense and played well defensively against a depleted Green Bay team. We'll call it what it is, but something maybe to build on.
And the Lions are a depleted team.
The Lions are a depleted team. And by the end of that game, 2 of the rookies were out of the game. Kirby Joseph in concussion protocol. Rodrigo only played. He had really a low snap.
Yeah, he left with it looked like a hyperextension of the arm, and then he came back in to try to make it work, and then left again. Did not come back.
He played only 19 snaps yesterday, but it doesn't look like it's going to be anything too particularly serious. Bottom line here is, step in the right direction defensively. Still some things to work out offensively. But I got some offensive observations that were positive-ish that we can get into, because, hey, they won a football game. It's an organization that needed it. It's a coaching staff that needed it. It's a GM that needed it. It's a roster that needed it. And to some degree, it's a town that needed it. So thank you, Detroit Lions.
Yes, thank you, Detroit Lions. And I'm going to enjoy this game this win for a couple more days. And then, I want the Lions to enjoy it, because they deserve to enjoy it.
Yep.
But you got to validate it. You got to add to it. You got to go to Chicago and beat Chicago.